Welcome back, story enthusiasts! Today, I want to talk about how the most profound romances and stories aren't about destiny bringing lovers together. They're about how time, identity, and the impossible tear them apart in all the right ways. Have you ever wished you could manipulate time? To fix a mistake, take back words said in anger, or simply make a perfect moment last longer? In the best stories, time isn't just a backdrop. It's an active force that shapes, breaks, and sometimes even heals relationships. But here's the question that haunts these tales. Is love only visible when it's too late? Let's explore this through two unique films that tackle this question in strikingly different ways. One through painful realism, the other through whimsical fantasy. In Between Passion and Calmness, former lovers Jinsei and Aoi reunite after 10 years, drawn together by an old promise to meet at Florence's Duomo on her 30th birthday. Meanwhile, the girl who leapt through time's Makoto literally manipulates time, using her newfound power to avoid confronting her friend Chiaki's feelings for her. To understand how time shapes these stories, let's look at how in every love story, three forces are at work. Memories that pull us backward, actions we take in the present, and hopes that draw us forward. When these align, love flows naturally. But when they conflict, as they do in our two examples, love becomes complicated. Time's cruelty lies not just in its forward march, but in how it twists our characters' perceptions. Jinsei becomes an art restorer, saying, "It's the only profession that lets you bring back the past." His work mirrors his deepest wish, to restore what time has taken from him and Aoi. Their love persists through years of separation, bound by unspoken trauma and misunderstandings, even as they build lives with others who can never quite reach their hearts. Makoto's story shows us the flip side, what happens when we try to control time itself. She extends fun moments, erases embarrassment, and dodges decisions about her future. But each leap backward only pushes love further away, until she discovers Chiaki is from the future, and her time manipulation has cost him his only chance to return home. So, is love only visible when it's too late? These stories suggest otherwise. Love is always visible. We just sometimes lack the courage to look directly at it. When Makoto finally stops running and races against time to confess her feelings, when Jinsei and Aoi meet again after a decade, they show us that love doesn't wait for perfect timing. It demands to be acknowledged in the present, messy and inconvenient as it may be. Because time, whether we can leap through it or not, only moves in one direction. And sometimes the bravest thing a character can do is move with it. Time may shape love stories, but identity, or rather the lack of it, can shatter them entirely. Which brings us to our next question. Can love thrive without self-awareness? In Breakfast at Tiffany's, Holly Golightly is a queen of self-invention. Born Lula Mae in rural Texas, she transforms herself into a sophisticated New York socialite. But her very accent betrays her uncertainty. It shifts between European sophistication and Southern twang, peppering French phrases into conversation as she tries on identities like her collection of fabulous dresses. Most telling is her refusal to name her cat, explaining, "We don't belong to each other. I don't want to own anything until I find a place where me and things go together." Holly's journey of self-invention follows a fascinating pattern that reveals the true cost of running from oneself. She begins as Lula Mae, running from trauma and a child marriage. This first escape teaches her that survival means constant reinvention. So she creates Holly Golightly, a sophisticated persona that refuses to be pinned down. But this performance can't quiet her inner turmoil, leaving her searching for anchors like Tiffany's. Only when she stops running can she finally discover her authentic self and true, honest love. Not by choosing between Lula Mae or Holly, but by accepting all parts of herself and the person who loves her, whatever her name may be. 52 years later, Her shows us a different kind of identity crisis. For a living, Theodore ghostwrites other people's love letters, pouring his emotional intelligence into expressing feelings for strangers while avoiding his own. He's stuck inside his failed marriage, unable to sign the divorce papers or go on dates without thinking about the happy times he had with his ex-wife. When he falls for Samantha, an AI, a man who can't face his own emotions falls in love with someone who lacks physical form. It's a brilliant commentary on how we sometimes seek relationships that mirror our own emotional shortcomings. Both stories use specific symbols to highlight their characters' fractured sense of self. Holly's Tiffany's becomes the one place she can feel safe during what she calls the mean reds. Like the blues, only the blues are for when you're sad. The mean reds are for when you're scared, and you don't know what you're scared of. For Theodore, it's his earpiece, the single link between his physical reality and the intangible world of his beloved Samantha. These symbols remind us how we often seek external solutions to internal emptiness. This brings us back to our question. Can love thrive without self-awareness? Exist? Yes. Thrive? No. Love and identity are inseparably linked. Holly's famous line, "I'm not Holly, I'm not Lula May either, I don't know who I am," isn't just about names. It's about the impossibility of loving authentically when you're running from yourself. Similarly, Theodore's journey shows that sometimes we need love to hold up a mirror to our own emotional evasions. Through his connection with Samantha, does he come to terms with how his avoidance impacts others? Finally apologizing to his ex-wife, signing his divorce papers, and gaining excitement about his future. What makes these stories timeless is how they remind us that finding ourselves isn't about choosing one fixed identity. It's about having the courage to be seen, to belong, to evolve. As Samantha tells Theodore, the heart's not like a box that gets filled up. It expands in size the more you love. Self-awareness isn't about finding yourself once and for all. It's about being brave enough to keep discovering who you might become. We've seen how love can reveal our truest selves, but some love stories ask an even harder question. What happens when being true to yourself means accepting an impossible love? In Portrait of a Lady on Fire, two women fall in love knowing their time together has an expiration date, marked by social conventions and an impending arranged marriage. Meanwhile, Final Fantasy X gives us Titus and Yuna, lovers separated by the very nature of existence. One real, yet destined for a hero's death, one a dream made manifest. Notice how both stories mirror each other in their progression. A fleeting connection, an inevitable separation, and a transformation through memory. In Portrait, art becomes the vehicle of preservation. In Final Fantasy X, memory becomes the catalyst for changing reality itself. So does love's impermanence make it more meaningful? These stories suggest yes, but not for the reasons we might expect. When Eloise tells Marianne to turn around in her wedding dress, she's not just echoing Orpheus and Eurydice. She's choosing to make their final moment a conscious act of memory. Similarly, when Titus fades through Yuna's embrace, their love doesn't end. It transforms into a catalyst for her growth, inspiring her quest in Final Fantasy X too that transforms herself and her world for the better. This brings us full circle to all our stories. What we see across all of them is a consistent pattern. Time creates pressure, identity faces crisis, and impossible circumstances force growth. But it's not a linear journey. It's a transformation that turns disaster into beauty, pain into understanding, and loss into eternal memory. Time leaps can't save Makoto and Chiaki's love in The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, just as Holly Golightly's reinterventions can't protect her heart in Breakfast at Tiffany's. Theodore's relationship with Samantha and her evolves beyond physical possibility, yet leaves him more capable of human connection than before. These aren't just love stories, they're journeys where lovers become both mirrors and obstacles to each other's growth. Yuna's determination to save Titus leads her to reshape her entire world and is rewarded with a new conclusion to their story. Yet, even in failure, love succeeds in forcing characters to confront their deepest truths. Eloise and Marianne's brief affair shapes their perspectives forever, so their love is painted plainly in sight from the farthest or closest distance. As Samantha tells Theodore, the heart's not like a box that gets filled up. It expands in size the more you love. Perhaps that's why the best love stories hurt. They show us how love's very impossibility makes it transformative. These aren't tales of soulmates finding each other. They're stories of people finding themselves through the mirror of impossible love. Because the most memorable love stories aren't about perfect matches. They're about perfect disasters that leave us changed forever. Did this video spark any ideas for your own writing? Leave a like and share your thoughts and questions in the comments below. Your insights might just help someone who needs it. Until then, whenever you find yourself in a pickle on how to improve your story, just know Ditto. You're not alone, and I'll be here to help.